The massive Empire scout ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Its golden hull gleamed in the distant sunlight, dwarfing the human observation stations scattered across the Kuiper Belt. Inside the ship, Admiral Rex of the Galactic Empire stood tall, his pristine white uniform reflecting his rank as the leader of the First Contact Fleet. "Another primitive world to add to our collection," Rex said, looking at the blue planet on his view screen. His second-in-command, Captain Mills, nodded in agreement. They had done this hundreds of times before. Find a new civilization, show their power, and add them to the Empire's growing list of subject worlds. But something was different this time. The sensor officer's voice shook as he reported, "Sir, we're detecting artificial structures throughout the entire system. Military installations on Mars, mining operations on Mercury, colonies on multiple moons of Jupiter and Saturn." Rex frowned. Most species barely made it to their own moon before the Empire found them. These humans were different. On Earth, inside the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral James Stone watched the Empire's arrival on multiple holographic displays. His weathered face showed no concern, only mild interest. At 60 years old, he had seen humanity survive things far worse than an alien empire's arrival. "They're broadcasting, sir," his communications officer said. "Standard Empire First Contact message. They're demanding our immediate submission to Imperial rule." Stone chuckled, running a hand through his gray hair. "Send them our standard reply package," he said. The package contained Earth's coordinates for a proper diplomatic meeting, along with a small sample of human historical records. The Empire ship received the transmission, and Rex laughed at the humans' apparent cooperation. "See," he told his bridge crew. "They know their place. Prepare my shuttle for a diplomatic mission. We'll have this world under our control by dinner." 3 hours later, Rex's shuttle landed at the designated meeting point, a massive space station in Earth orbit. The station's size surprised him. It was larger than many Empire orbital facilities. As he walked through its corridors, he noticed something else strange. The human guards wore powered armor that looked more advanced than his own troops' equipment. Admiral Stone waited in the conference room, standing by a large window overlooking Earth. He turned as Rex entered, offering a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Welcome to Earth," Stone said simply. "I trust your journey was pleasant." Rex puffed up his chest, ready to deliver his practiced speech about the Empire's might. But Stone raised a hand, stopping him. "Before you begin," Stone said, "I suggest you review the historical files we sent. Your Empire has conquered many worlds, Admiral Rex. But tell me, how many of those worlds had already survived multiple extinction-level events?" Rex blinked in confusion. "I don't understand." Stone tapped a control panel, and the room's walls transformed into a display showing Earth's history. "In the last century alone, we survived a global nuclear war, an ice age, and a plague that almost wiped us out. Each time, we didn't just survive. We got stronger." The display showed scenes that made Rex's blood run cold. Humans fighting in nuclear wastelands, building cities under the ice, developing technologies in the face of absolute destruction. And those were just the recent events. "Your Empire has never had a war with humans before," Stone continued, his voice calm but carrying an edge of steel. "We'd like to keep it that way. We're happy to establish diplomatic relations, trade agreements, cultural exchanges, but not as subjects, as equals." Rex found his voice. "The Empire does not accept equals. We." "Then I suggest you read those historical files very carefully," Stone interrupted. "Particularly the sections on how humans react to ultimatums." He smiled again, but this time it was the smile of a predator. "We've spent our entire history fighting. Against nature, against each other, against extinction itself. We're very, very good at it, but we'd rather not demonstrate how good." As Rex left the station, shaken but trying not to show it, he opened the historical files on his tablet. The first image made him stop cold. It showed a devastated city, destroyed not by natural disaster, but by a human weapon called an atomic bomb. And that was just the beginning of the file. For the first time in his career, Rex wondered if perhaps the Empire had finally found a species it shouldn't try to conquer. Back on the Empire's flagship, Admiral Rex sat alone in his private chamber, his face lit by the glow of multiple screens. For 6 hours straight, he had been reading Earth's historical files, and each new page made him more uneasy. "Computer, show me the 20th century again," he commanded, his voice rough from lack of sleep. The screens flickered, displaying images of 2 massive world wars, countless smaller conflicts, and weapons that made even his battle-hardened mind shiver. A knock at his door made him jump. "Enter," he called out, trying to sound calm. Captain Mills walked in, carrying more data tablets. "Sir, you need to see this. Our analysts just finished studying their current military capabilities." "How bad?" Rex asked, noting the unusual paleness of his captain's face. "Sir, they have weapons platforms hidden throughout their entire solar system. And their ground forces." Mills paused, swallowing hard. "Their regular soldiers train in conditions that would kill our best special forces units." Rex stood up and walked to his window, watching Earth shine in the distance. The beautiful blue planet now seemed more like a sleeping predator than an easy conquest. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Stone was giving the Empire's diplomatic team a tour of what he called a basic training facility. The Empire officials watched from a safe observation room as human soldiers ran through their daily exercises. "Impossible," whispered Lord Green, the Empire's chief diplomat, as he watched humans running in powered armor through courses filled with fire, ice, and artificial gravity wells. "Your regular troops train with equipment our elite forces consider experimental." Stone nodded casually. "Of course. This is just the basic stuff. What we give to rookies." He pointed to a group of soldiers practicing underwater combat while carrying what looked like heavy mining equipment. "Those folks are learning how to fight while doing repair work on deep-sea bases. Standard protocol for any of our Marines." The Empire officials exchanged worried looks. Their own soldiers struggled to fight in light rain. "But why?" asked Lady Blue, another Empire diplomat. "Why push your people so hard when you're not even at war?" Stone's face grew serious. "Because we learned the hard way that peace doesn't last forever. Humanity almost died out 3 times in the last century alone. We survived because we were ready, because we never stopped preparing for the worst." He led them to another room, where the walls displayed a timeline of human history. "Look here," he said, pointing to different events. "This is when we fought off an ice age by building entire cities underground. Here's when we survived a plague by completely changing our DNA. And this," he pointed to a more recent date, "this is when we stopped a planet-killing asteroid by turning it into our first space colony." The Empire officials stared at the timeline, their faces growing more concerned with each example. "Every time nature tried to kill us, we got stronger," Stone continued. "Every disaster made us more resilient. Every war taught us new ways to survive." He turned to face the Empire group. "That's why we're warning you now. Humanity doesn't want a war with the Empire. We've seen enough war to last 1,000 lifetimes. But if you force us into one..." He let the sentence hang in the air. The message was clear. Later that day, Lord Green sent an urgent message to the Empire's capital. His hands shook as he typed. "Highest priority. Cancel all military plans against Earth immediately. These humans are not like other species we've conquered. They don't build weapons because they want to fight. They build them because they've had to fight their entire history. Their so-called basic technology is centuries ahead of our best equipment, and that's just what they're willing to show us." He paused, then added, "Most importantly, they've warned us clearly and peacefully. A species that powerful, with that much military capability, choosing to warn us instead of attack, that shows either great wisdom or terrifying confidence, possibly both. My recommendation: offer peace treaty immediately. The Empire cannot afford to make humans our enemies. As the message transmitted across space, Admiral Stone watched the Empire ships from his office window. He hoped they would choose peace, but if they didn't, well, he hadn't shown them the real military bases yet, or the fleets hidden in hyperspace, or the true extent of human technology. Sometimes the best way to avoid a war was to make sure your opponent knew exactly how badly they would lose it. The Empire's high command wasn't satisfied with reports alone. They wanted proof of human capabilities. 1 week after the first contact, they sent their request. "Show us your military in action." Admiral Stone read the message in his office and smiled. "Well, if they insist." He pressed a button on his desk. "Major Walker, prepare Training Ground 7 for a basic demonstration. And tell the rookies to take it easy. We don't want to scare our guests too much." The next day, 5 Empire warships hung in orbit above Earth's Mojave Desert. Admiral Rex and 20 of the Empire's top military observers stood on a protected viewing platform, ready to watch what humans called a standard training exercise. "This should be interesting," Rex muttered to Captain Mills. "Their so-called powerful military can't be as impressive as they claim." Then the ground shook. From hidden underground bases, hundreds of human soldiers in powered armor emerged. Their suits made the Empire's best armor look like children's toys. Each soldier carried weapons that, according to Empire scanners, shouldn't even be possible with current technology. "First exercise," announced a calm voice over the speakers. "Basic urban combat in extreme conditions." The training ground transformed. Buildings rose from the desert floor. Then, without warning, the entire area was filled with fire, acid rain, and artificial gravity storms. The Empire observers gasped. Any one of these conditions would kill their best troops. The human soldiers didn't even slow down. They moved through the fire like it was a gentle breeze. They used the changing gravity to launch themselves between buildings, firing weapons with perfect accuracy while upside down. When acid rain melted parts of their armor, they simply continued fighting as their suits automatically repaired themselves. "This is impossible," one Empire observer whispered. "Our best ships can't even handle conditions like this." Stone stood next to them, looking relaxed. "Oh, this is nothing. These are just first-year cadets. They're still learning the basics." "Basics?" Rex's voice cracked. "You consider this basic?" "Of course." Stone pointed to a group of soldiers who were now fighting underwater as the training ground flooded. "See those troops? They're practicing for maintenance work on Europa, the ice moon of Jupiter," he added, seeing the confusion on Rex's face. "We have cities under its frozen oceans." The demonstration continued for hours. The human soldiers fought in conditions that defied belief. Zero gravity, extreme heat, crushing pressure, even simulated vacuum. They used weapons that could pierce Empire shield technology like paper. Their communication systems couldn't be jammed. Their armor shrugged off hits that would destroy Empire tanks. But what truly terrified the Empire observers wasn't the technology. It was how ordinary the humans considered all of this. "Hold on," Stone said suddenly, touching his earpiece. "Looks like we have a real situation. Observer team, you might want to watch this." A real emergency had come up at one of Earth's Mars colonies. A solar flare had damaged their protective shields. Without hesitation, the training soldiers switched from exercises to actual mission mode. The Empire officials watched in awe as the rookie troops launched into space without needing ships, their armor protecting them from vacuum. They reached Mars in minutes using personal jump drives, repaired the colony's shields under intense radiation, and returned to the training ground. "Sorry about the interruption," Stone said casually. "Where were we?" "Ah yes, basic training demonstrations." Rex pulled him aside. "Admiral Stone, I must know. Why are you showing us all this? Aren't you afraid we'll use this information against you?" Stone's face became serious. "That's exactly why we're showing you. You need to understand what you'd be facing if you choose war. Everything you've seen today. These are tools we developed just to survive on our own worlds. Imagine what we've developed for actual combat." He paused, letting that sink in. "We're not threatening you, Admiral Rex. We're warning you. Humanity has spent thousands of years learning to survive in conditions that should have killed us. We've turned death worlds into gardens, transformed killing radiation into power sources, and made the vacuum of space our playground. We did all this just to live. And if we had to fight," Stone's voice grew quieter, "well, let's hope we never have to show you what humans can really do when we're actually trying to win a war." As the Empire observers returned to their ships, none of them spoke. They had come expecting to evaluate a primitive military force. Instead, they had witnessed something far more terrifying. A species that treated impossible conditions as routine training exercises. The message was clear. If this was how humans practiced, nobody wanted to see how they actually fought. Inside the Empire's Grand War Room, heated arguments filled the air. Military leaders from across the galaxy had gathered to discuss one pressing question: what to do about Earth. Admiral Rex stood before the Empire's War Council, his uniform perfectly pressed, but dark circles under his eyes showing his exhaustion. Behind him, massive screens displayed data from the human demonstrations. "We must strike now." General Pike slammed his fist on the golden table. "Before they become even stronger." His face was red with anger and fear. "With what weapons?" Rex asked quietly. "You've seen the reports. Their basic shields can stop our strongest ships. Their rookie soldiers survive conditions that kill our elite forces, and that's just what they've shown us." The room fell silent. On the main screen, footage played of human cadets casually walking through fire and acid rain during their training exercise. General Pike wasn't done. "We still have superior numbers. The Empire controls 10,000 worlds. Earth is just one planet." "That's where you're wrong," a new voice said. Everyone turned. Admiral Stone walked into the room, having been invited to this meeting as Earth's representative. The Empire guards tensed, their hands moving to their weapons. "Earth isn't our only world," Stone continued calmly. "It's just our birthplace." He pulled out a small device and pressed it. The room's holographic display changed, showing hundreds of stars scattered across Empire space. Tiny dots of light began appearing among them. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. "The blue dots are human colonies," Stone explained. "We've been exploring space for longer than you thought. Those worlds you think are uninhabited, many of them are ours. Those abandoned mining stations you found, active human outposts. Those natural energy readings you detect. Our cities, hidden underground or inside mountains." The Empire leaders stared at the display in horror. The human colonies were everywhere, scattered throughout their territory like stars in the night sky. "You're already surrounded," Stone said softly. "You just didn't know it. We've been watching the Empire for decades, studying you, learning about you. We hoped that when first contact finally happened, it would be peaceful." An older Empire leader, Grand Admiral White, stood up slowly. "If what you say is true, why haven't you attacked us already? You clearly have the advantage." Stone's face showed genuine sadness. "Because we don't want war. Humanity has seen enough war to last 1,000 lifetimes. We know exactly what it costs. That's why we're here today, to offer you a choice." He walked to the center of the room, looking each Empire leader in the eye. "Choice 1. You can try to fight us. You'll lose, badly, and both our civilizations will suffer needlessly. Choice 2. We can be allies." "Allies?" several voices asked at once. "Yes." Stone smiled. "The Empire has art, culture, and knowledge humanity would love to learn. We have technology and survival skills that could help the Empire grow stronger. Together, we could build something greater than either of us could alone." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But understand this, we will only join the Empire as equals, not subjects. The choice is yours." Grand Admiral White stepped forward. "And if we choose war, then I'd suggest you read Earth's history one more time," Stone replied, "particularly the parts about what happened to the last few extinction-level threats humanity faced. Spoiler alert, we're still here. They aren't." The room fell silent again. The Empire leaders looked at each other, then at the map showing human colonies spread throughout their space, then at the footage still playing of human soldiers performing impossible feats. Finally, Grand Admiral White spoke again. "We will need time to discuss this." "Of course," Stone said. "Take all the time you need. But remember, everything we've shown you, every capability we've demonstrated, was developed just to help us survive. We've never shown anyone our actual military technology." He walked to the door, then turned back one last time. "Let's hope we never have to." As Stone left, the Empire leaders sat in stunned silence. They had gathered to plan the conquest of Earth. Instead, they'd learned they were the ones who had been surrounded all along. Now they faced their own survival test. Would they be wise enough to choose peace? General Pike wasn't someone who took warnings seriously. Even after the Empire's War Council voted to continue peaceful talks with Earth, he made his own plans. "They're bluffing," he told his loyal commanders aboard his flagship, the Eternal Glory. "All this talk about hidden colonies and advanced technology, lies to hide their weakness." 3 days after the War Council meeting, Pike launched his attack. 50 Empire warships, the largest attack fleet ever assembled, jumped into Earth's solar system. Their massive guns targeted Earth's major cities. In his command center, Admiral Stone watched the Empire ships arrive. He didn't look worried. Instead, he looked disappointed. "They really should have listened," he said quietly. He pressed a button on his desk. "All units, defensive pattern Alpha. Remember, minimal casualties. We're teaching them a lesson, not starting a war." Pike's voice boomed across all communication channels. "People of Earth, surrender now or face the Empire's full power. You have 1 hour to." He never finished his speech. Suddenly, every Empire ship's systems started failing. Their engines died. Their weapons went dark. Their shields flickered and vanished. "What's happening?" Pike demanded, watching his mighty fleet turn into floating metal boxes. "Sir," his technology officer shouted, "something's in our computers. It's like nothing I've ever seen." On Earth, Stone spoke into his communicator, ready for Phase 2. Around the disabled Empire fleet, space itself seemed to change. Hidden human ships appeared everywhere, emerging from what looked like tears in reality. They were unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around them, powered by energies that Empire sensors couldn't even detect. "Impossible," Pike whispered. His fleet's best sensors had detected nothing until now. "Where did they come from?" "We were always here." Stone's voice came through on all Empire channels. "Those demonstrations we showed you, that was our civilian technology. This..." A massive human ship emerged right in front of Pike's flagship, dwarfing it completely. "This is what we built for war." The human ships didn't fire. They didn't have to. Strange beams of light touched each Empire vessel, and suddenly Pike's mighty warships transformed. Their metal hulls turned transparent like glass. Their mighty engines became visible, but they looked tiny and primitive compared to the technology surrounding them. "A simple molecular restructuring field," Stone explained, his voice calm. "We use it for building colonies. Right now, it's just making your ship's hulls transparent. Imagine what it could do if we were actually trying to hurt you." Pike's crew stared in horror at their now see-through walls and floors. Everything electronic on their ships had been shut down by human computer systems that moved faster than Empire technology could even detect. "Listen carefully," Stone continued. "We're going to send you all home now. Your ships will work again once you're back in Empire space. When you get there, explain to your leaders what happened here. Explain why starting a war with humanity would be their last mistake. Before Pike could respond, his fleet began moving. Human ships were towing them through space like children's toys, using energy fields that the Empire couldn't understand. One more thing, Stone added. Those colonies we told you about, the ones hidden throughout Empire space, they're not just watching anymore. Right now, human ships are appearing above every major Empire world. They won't attack. We keep our promises. But remember, you started this fight. We're choosing to end it peacefully. As Pike's fleet was pulled away from Earth, he finally understood. The humans hadn't been bluffing. They hadn't even been threatening. They had been trying to protect the Empire from its own mistake. His last view of Earth showed more human ships appearing, each one more advanced than his entire fleet combined. And these, he realized with growing dread, were probably just their defensive forces. "Sir," his second-in-command asked quietly, "what do we do now?" Pike watched his transparent ship being towed home by technology he couldn't comprehend. "We pray," he said, "that humanity remains peaceful, because if they ever decide to actually fight." He shuddered. "Well, let's just hope they don't." Behind them, Earth continued its calm orbit around the sun, its true power finally revealed, not through destruction, but through mercy. The Empire's capital world, Glory Prime, was having a normal day when the sky changed color. Billions of citizens looked up as the golden atmosphere turned crystal clear, revealing what had been hidden above them. Human ships, thousands of them. They had been there for years, cloaked and waiting. In the Imperial Palace, alarms blared. Emperor Vale himself rushed to the emergency command center, his golden robes flowing behind him. "Report," he demanded. "How did they get past our defenses?" "Your Majesty," a nervous officer replied, "they didn't get past them. They've been here all along. And they're everywhere." On the massive screens around them, reports flooded in from every Empire world. Human ships appeared above every major city, every military base, every secret installation. They didn't fire weapons. They didn't make threats. They simply appeared, showing themselves at last. "Message coming in," announced the communications officer. "It's from all of them." Simultaneously, Admiral Stone's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him stood representatives from hundreds of human colonies, each one located within what the Empire had thought was their secure territory. "Emperor Vale," Stone said calmly, "by now you've seen our ships. They've been watching your worlds for decades, hidden by technology your sensors can't detect. We're revealing them now because General Pike forced our hand." The Emperor's face darkened. Pike acted without authority. "We know," Stone interrupted. "That's why we sent him home instead of destroying his fleet. But now it's time for truth. Your Empire needs to understand exactly what you've been provoking." At Stone's signal, the human ships began to move, not to attack, but to demonstrate. They danced between dimensions, transformed matter with casual ease, and performed feats that Empire scientists had thought impossible. "Everything you're seeing," Stone continued, "was built by civilians, miners, explorers, colonists. This isn't our military technology. It's what we use to build homes." The Emperor watched as human ships reshaped asteroids into space stations in seconds, created stable wormholes with devices smaller than a car, and manipulated gravity like it was clay. "Impossible," the Emperor whispered. "For the Empire, yes," Stone agreed. "But humanity learned long ago that impossible just means you haven't been desperate enough to try harder. We survived extinction by making the impossible routine." Above each Empire world, the human ships continued their peaceful demonstration of technologies that defied explanation. They weren't showing weapons. They were showing tools. Building tools, mining tools, farming tools. And that was more terrifying than any weapon could be. "Your Majesty," one of the Emperor's scientists said, his voice shaking, "if this is their civilian technology, what can their actual military do?" "Let's never find out," Stone answered, having heard the question. Instead, let's talk about peace. Real peace, not enforced submission. The Empire has much to offer humanity, and we have much to share in return. The Emperor stood silent for a long moment, watching the casual display of power above his worlds. Every defense system, every security measure, every military advantage the Empire had trusted in, meant nothing against human technology. The Empire, Vale said carefully, would be interested in discussing terms of mutual cooperation. Stone smiled. Excellent choice, and to show our good faith, he pressed a button. Across Empire space, the human ships began helping. They repaired damaged planets, cleaned polluted atmospheres, and upgraded vital systems, not with Empire technology, but with simple human tools that rewrote the laws of physics. Consider this a gift, Stone explained. A small demonstration of what we can achieve together, if we choose to be friends instead of enemies. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Vale watched his capital world being transformed. Pollution vanished, deserts bloomed, broken systems repaired themselves, and all of it done with technology that the Empire's best scientists couldn't even understand. Admiral Stone, the Emperor said finally, I believe the Empire has much to learn from humanity. And we have much to learn from you, Stone replied. That's what peace means, growing stronger together instead of destroying each other. Now shall we begin? Above every Empire world, human ships continued their work, showing without words why peace was always better than war, especially with a species that could reshape reality using just their mining tools. 1 year after the Empire discovered Earth, the galaxy had changed. In the Great Hall of the Imperial Palace on Glory Prime, Empire citizens watched as Emperor Vale signed the Human-Empire Friendship Treaty. Admiral Stone stood beside him, both leaders using the same pen, a simple Earth artifact that had survived 3 world wars. Let history remember this day, the Emperor announced to the watching billions across thousands of worlds. Not as the day the Empire admitted it could be defeated, but as the day we became wise enough to choose friendship over fear. The gathered crowd included both Empire citizens and humans. They could easily tell each other apart. The humans were the ones who looked simpler, less decorated, but carried themselves with quiet confidence. In the front row, Admiral Rex sat next to General Pike. The once proud general had changed since his failed attack on Earth. Now he served as a teacher, warning young Empire officers about the difference between true strength and simple power. Look at them, Pike whispered to Rex. Have you noticed how the humans built their part of the ceremony stage? Rex nodded. The Empire side sparkled with golden decorations and powerful gravity generators. The human side looked plain. Until you realized their simple platform was actually floating in space, held up by physics-defying technology that the Empire still couldn't understand. After the signing, Admiral Stone gave a speech that was broadcast across Empire space. He stood without ceremony, wearing his simple uniform, looking more like a teacher than a military leader. A year ago, humanity revealed itself to the Empire, he began. We showed you technology that scared you, power that shocked you, and capabilities that seemed impossible. But today, I want to tell you the real secret of human strength. The crowd leaned forward. Finally, they would learn how humans had become so powerful. Our strength, Stone continued, comes from knowing exactly how weak we really are. Confused murmurs filled the hall. Stone smiled and explained. Humans survived because Earth never let us forget our weakness. Every time we thought we were strong, nature reminded us how fragile we were. Plagues, ice ages, asteroids, nuclear wars. We faced extinction so many times that we stopped fearing it. Instead, we learned from it. He gestured to the human colonists in the crowd. Look at us. We're not stronger, faster, or smarter than most species. We're just really, really hard to kill. Because every time something tried to kill us, we studied it, learned from it, and turned it into a tool for survival. The Empire citizens listened in growing understanding as Stone continued. That's why we warned you to run. Not because we wanted to fight, but because we've had enough of fighting. We learned the hard way that real strength isn't about having the biggest weapons. It's about being wise enough not to use them. Emperor Vale stood next to Stone, and that is why the Empire chooses alliance with humanity. Not from fear of their power, but from respect for their wisdom. Together, human and Empire engineers were already reshaping the galaxy. Empire art and culture spread to human worlds, while human technology helped the Empire reach new heights. Former enemies became teachers, learning from each other's strengths. In orbit above Glory Prime, a new station was being built, half Empire design, half human technology. It would serve as a school where both civilizations could learn from each other. Its name, written in both Empire and human letters, was simple: peace through understanding. Admiral Stone stood at a window, watching the construction. Admiral Rex joined him. "You know," Rex said thoughtfully, "when we first found Earth, we thought we were the strong ones. We thought we were being merciful by offering you a chance to surrender." Stone smiled. "And we were merciful by trying to warn you instead of showing you our real strength." "That's what still amazes me," Rex admitted. "You had the power to destroy us all along, but you chose to help us instead. Why?" "Because that's the greatest lesson humanity learned from all our battles with extinction," Stone replied. "True strength isn't about surviving alone. It's about helping others survive with you." Outside, the new station took shape against the stars, its design a perfect blend of Empire glory and human ingenuity. It stood as a testament to the truth both civilizations had finally learned. Sometimes the strongest choice is choosing not to fight at all.